Greetings, greetings, greetings. I am back. Another report, Melanin Report 360. The Melanin Report 360, the Melanin Report 360. So, thank you for tuning in once again. I was away. Seems like my screen is freezing. Okay. I was away for a few weeks. I took a couple of weeks off. I did my cleanse, and then I decided to kind of get back in the rhythm of getting my YouTube up and running again. So I am a back, back, back living color. So thank you for tuning in the Melanin Report 360, and I'm your hostess, Deanne. I hope you all have been doing quite well. I've been doing well. I had a couple of things going on in the house, and I wanted to kind of wait until that settled. And when I say in the house, some renovations and things. So I'm back in the rhythm of things. So I hope you all have been doing quite well. I did the cleanse, as I told you. This was back a couple of weeks ago, 2 3 weeks ago. It's like a blur. This year is trying to slide by. Um, yes, we are recognizing all the things that have been going on. Um, George Floyd. Um, I don't even want to say it's just horrible of what. Let me go ahead and read. Let me go ahead and read the disclaimer because it's been a while. So I want to dot my T's, cross my I's. Okay. Cross my I's, dot my T's. Okay. So fair use. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, technology, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance, in favor of fair use. It's been a while since I've read that. And so thank you so much for tuning in. I wanted to talk about a few things. I'm coming on early. I want you all to make some adjustments as I am, because I noticed that some other sisters and other platforms, they are coming on in the evening. So I'm just trying to get ahead of that time frame and to get back in the swing of things. So I'm going to come on typically like 2:30, 2:45, somewhere in there. So I want you to be aware of my time change, because 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock to the east, that's a little late for most. So I just want to be in consideration of the changes with my platform. So thank you so much for tuning in. I wanted to talk about a few things. In fact, I want to talk about DMX, and George Floyd, the late George Floyd, and the trouble I have with direction that the case may be going. So let's start with, let's see, DMX. I guess DMX has been front and center, because I remember meeting DMX probably a year and a half ago. And I think we were both at the same bank. And I remember seeing he was by himself, and this was over in Scottsdale, because I was working around in that area, and I believe it was Famous Bank, so I won't, give a shout out on the bank. But he was alone. He was by himself, and I didn't kind of go in like, oh, you're DMX and blah blah blah, because he was kind of, unassuming kind of energy. And so I just was blessing him and acknowledging his presence, from a distance. So to know that apparently he was, about to or wanted to OD or did not want to. You just don't know in the mindset. I've never been a big user of recreational anything. That's maybe a little bit of ganja, So that was probably 15 years ago. So it's like not a recent memory. And so I get the whole, I live in a state where it is front and center on, we just passed recreational use. And it's a win-win. A lot of people have been healing with recreational use, whatever, the chewies, the gummies, the this, the that. So I kind of get that because I know that there's benefit in, a lot of healing comes from the earth, obviously. And so with that, we should recognize that that is a big game changer because like Arizona, other places will probably follow suit. But with that said, I really want to just recognize the pain at some level. We're all in pain. We're all out of, not even 200 years, 150 years past, in bondage, slavery, chattel slavery. So we all, myself included, we all have a certain level of, what's the adjective? Um, a level of an uncomfortableness in this society because we know it's so polar opposite of what we came from, energetically, our ancestors and all that. So it's a shame that we are still being treated in the manner that we're treating, hence George Floyd. I'll get to him in a few minutes. But it's just horrific. It's just horrific that this young man, he's a few years younger than me. I think he's 50 now, 50, 51 this year, somewhere in there. So we are both, we're within, I'm 57, and so grateful to God, ancestors, and I've lived and have more opportunity to share with the universe all that I have to give and all that. But with that being said, he is such an accomplished person in his own right. I don't know about the mindset of wanting to kill or take, probably he did not expect to get to the hospital and he probably maybe wanted to get a high or whatever. But he's got children, he's got grandchildren, I'm sure. All the life that he has led him to this moment. And I think he has a fiance, he's got children, I'm sure he's got grandchildren. And, who has been in his circle? I'm not trying to say, oh, if these folks were around him, this wouldn't have happened. I know everyone's got their own mindset of what they want to do, and they're grown and they're going to do it. But it's kind of a sad day because he is an icon in some levels, at some level, absolutely. And he did a lot, or I don't want to say past tense, but he has been instrumental on all fronts with hip hop, hippity hop, bippity bop. The agenda, the musical agenda. And I just want to send healing light, love, and his healing. His healing has to start within because there's no sense in buying your records and this and that if you're not at peace within. Peace starts with the person in the mirror. And to get him, I'm not going to say clean, I'm going to say healed, to heal him from the crown of his head to the soles of his feet, because we know, trust and believe that everything is in divine order. So I'm sure with the prayer, I think the prayer vigil in, I want to say Mount Vernon, I think that's where he was, maybe. Um, and I do believe healing, they have a vigil outside the hospital, whatever the case may be. But there's a lot of prayer. We know it changes things. Ancestors, he need to call on the ancestors, and if it's just he's to stay on this side and be able to tell his story, that's a miracle of itself. And we know that our ancestors that we can lift up, and we can honor them in spirit and in truth. And somehow, some way, I'm a little bit witness. So I'm going to get to that a little bit later. But I know the power of our ancestors. We have prayer warriors, and this is happening here during this time for a reason. So I just want to send Ashe to him, his family, and all the players in his life, and hopefully, when, if he comes out of this, and to be able to tell his story, that would be more beneficial to others that have been kind of playing around with recreational use drugs, or what have you. And so we all have a sense of understanding the I'm going to segue into George Floyd. We have an understanding being in these bodies and these incarnations as we have been incarnated. This is the highest vibration on the planet, in my opinion. And this is what we need to do. We need to recognize that this brother needs to be loved. Love starts from within. Believe me, love starts from within. So I remember his music. I'm still doing past tense. I don't mean to do that. I have a memory of his music or his lyrics, and very gifted, very gifted, as we all are. We all need to see the beauty in our gifts. We are here for a reason. We have an appointed time to be here for a set amount of time, and we need to lift that energy up and recognize that, he has perhaps gone through whatever he has gone through, and he will come out on the other side. So we just send that energy and light and love to his family. We know, trust and believe that he is healed right now from the crown of his head to the soles of his feet. So we know in the God that he is, maybe he can recognize that in the weeks and months and years to come. Ashe. So let's go to George Floyd. I've been watching it kind of intermittently. I'm not like glued to the TV, because the fact that there is a trial is disturbing to me. I was talking to my aunt in Brooklyn, and we are both in the agreement that when he knelt on on George Floyd's neck for 9 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever it was, it shouldn't even be a trial, because that's a waste of taxpayer money. That's how I feel. I definitely feel that way. So it's just ridiculous. Like, who The person that I think it was a woman, a young lady, 17 years old. Thank goodness she recorded it. The fact that people who have been experiencing trauma, as we all have, we are product of this environment, and our ancestors have dealt with what we're still seeing today. So the fact that people are traumatized still a year later, it's been a year next month, I believe it's a year. And it's a shame that people need to relive trauma, traumatized. That 17-year-old, 19-year-old young man who went to his supervisor and said, "Hey, I think this was a counterfeit bill that this guy gave me." He's got to live with that because he's 19. Now, if it was a 35 or 45, year old person, perhaps they may not have done that. I will tell a story. This is a true story. So I was working at the vitamin shop. I will say that. I was a manager at the vitamin shop um, for years. This is, I'm going to say like 10 years ago, 12, 15 years ago or so. It was a long time. It seemed to be. There was a Caucasian guy who he was seedy. He was like not knew that out the gate. I just knew when he was hired, I just felt he would had some game. And some people, they present themselves like I can read through that whole persona. So he was kind of flashy, and the store manager, I was the assistant, the store manager wanted to hire this guy or for whatever reason. That's another story. Um, but this guy was probably around my age, I want to say, maybe a couple of years older or something. He said he wanted to work at Vitamin Shop because he wanted to get discounts. He wanted to, he's a bodybuilder and he wanted to get discounts. And so, what was the guy's name? Chris. I think that was it. Chris. Chris hired him. So, okay, we're going on, he's hired part-time or so. And I remembered that there was a guy who kind of knew on the registers. And when I did the close that night, it seemed like he accepted a counterfeit bill from him. Because I only had him on the registers for like a couple of hours. So we kind of knew his transactions because he was kind of brand new. So when I was counting down and going, taking the money to the bank, blah, 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 at the close of the day, and I kind of asked him, because we can run the tape and all like that. And he was the only person who paid cash, which was a big $20 bill. Same thing. So some years I got chills right now when I'm telling you this story. I got chills right now. So, so this guy is a Caucasian male. And like I said, maybe 3 years or 2 years older than me, or maybe younger than me, probably older than me. And I remembered the person who was the cashier, and he accepted the $20 bill, and it was counterfeit. The police were not called. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. I think it was reported because we kind of included it in the till, and I just was like, I don't know. He didn't know clearly, But nothing happened to that guy. Nothing happened. Not one thing. A police report, nothing. 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 Why? Because he's a white male. See, people say, oh, kumbaya, we need to all be, one in spirit and God, and Easter just was yesterday. We don't see race anymore. You know how I feel about that. That is more than a notion, as my grandmother used to say. The fact that we come here different colors, we come here different ethnicities, so we know the planet has diversity. But the fact that we don't respect and honor diversity across the board, George Floyd will not see his daughter reach the age of 10 or 12 or what have you. So this is what happens in society, because I remember that. I remember that guy passed off a counterfeit bill and nothing happened, literally. I think he eventually quit, and it was some craziness with that, but you know, white men, I'm going to say this, white men go unchallenged. That's why Colorado just happened. That's why Atlanta just happened. Because Atlanta was 21, I think they were both 21 or 25, or like, you haven't even lived. You are white men, or you're perceived as white men. That guy came front and center. A police officer was shot. He killed 10 people at the spa. Now, whatever was going on in the spa, that's another thing, but there's been so many reporting and with that. The fact that he came away with not one bullet in his body. I'm talking about Colorado. Not one bullet was put in his body. Does anyone think about that? I'm not understanding that he killed 10 people. 10 people. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He walked out with probably, they didn't shoot him to kill him. If that were a black man or woman, we're least likely on this list of, serial shooters or whatever, as melanated women. This is why this system will remain without justice. No justice, no peace. Because of the black and white of it all. I knew the guy, both Colorado and Atlanta, knew they were white men. How? Because I've lived in this country for 57 years. I know the MO of offices. I know the MO of offices. I know the MO of offices. And with that said, he was kind of taken to, especially Colorado guy. He was taken to the hospital for treatment. Okay, he was taken to the hospital for treatment. Number one. Number two, the other guy, 21. I don't even think he had a shot or anything. He was handcuffed. simply handcuffed. Now, rewind to, I want to say Trayvon Martin. I don't want to use, well, that's another one. But more Rice. The police shot him within seconds. Do people ever think about that? Do we ever think about that? He was shot within seconds. I know the restraint for officers when you don't have melanin on your skin. I know that. Clear cut. I know that. So this is two systems. We have two systems in this country. As long as we recognize it, I think Biden, for whatever reason, he believes that because we are post-racial, I don't know what he was alleging with those comments, but we're clearly not there. I don't know if we will ever be there in my lifetime. I just don't know. I don't believe, but anything's possible. So we have to recognize the truth of this country. The truth. Do we see the truth? Do we see and recognize the truth that there is bias in this country? Tamir Rice will still be alive. Sandra Bland will still be alive. The list goes on. Eric Gardner. I mean, that's in the last decade or two. So much loss of these young people, the scholars, the doctors, the dentists, the people just walking the street. So we must pay attention to everything. All the moving parts are so important because we're at a critical time. Critical time. So with that said, I thank you for listening. We again will be on a little bit earlier, Monday through Friday. I'm going to try with the Monday through Friday. And so I'm going to start 2:30, and that is Pacific. Well, not Pacific. This is Mountain Standard Time. Okay. So again, food for thought. Just like, share, and subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. Like, share, subscribe, and share. Share is important because we have a small voice but a big message, and that's what that's going to remain. So again, this is Deanne. I thank you for listening, watching. Like, share, subscribe, follow. Like, share, subscribe, follow. Like, share, subscribe, follow. And we'll be back tomorrow, 2:30. And I look forward to hearing your comments, and seeing you soon. All right. Take care. Be well.